Good morning. It's Wednesday, April the 8th, and this is The Drill. Thank you very much. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. I don't take any cues from the left. I will not pretend to be neutral. I will not simply give you the facts and let you decide. I'm partisan, and I'm here to convince and persuade. I will tell you what to do, where to go, and how to hang your laundry. I created this podcast to answer the question most asked by conservatives, namely, what can I do? My podcast is short, approximately 5 to 10 minutes long, because shorter podcasts are easier to download and listen to, and shorter podcasts force me to get to the point. I've been listening to conservative talk radio since 1989. I've grown up in a socialist household, and I've seen the destructive effects of socialism up close and personal. My podcast is made available through Spreaker and can be heard on iTunes, Spotify, Google, and YouTube. Today, what can I do? Quote of the day, press conferences, and don't be tricked by the word we. All that when I come back. Thank you. What can I do? Well, I was thinking the other day about the little voice inside our heads, and I wanted to have a better name for it. I was listening to Glenn Beck at the time, and he said something about common sense. And that's when the light went on. I realized that common sense were the words that I was looking for. The little voice inside your head is your common sense. Listen to or use your common sense. What is common sense? It's the knowledge that you have acquired through experience. The experience that you gain from making mistakes or even through success, from skinning your knee, bumping your head, that kind of thing. Credentials aren't always as important as experience. Decades ago, I was on my way to Bullhead City, Arizona with some friends when we stopped into a gas station. Next to us was an elderly couple, locals. The gentleman looked at the sky and said, "It looks like rain." I thought that he was crazy. The skies were blue with only a few puffy white clouds. Sure enough, that night we were inundated with thunderstorms. This man predicted the weather better than most meteorologists, and he did it based on common sense. Next up, the quote of the day. The quote of the day comes from Rules for Retrogrades by Timothy and David Gordon. Quote, radicals who manipulate language must be beaten at their own game, and then in many other venues as well, decisively, definitively, and mercilessly, unquote. Next up, press conferences. Thank you. Most press conferences are garbage. The press is trying to bait the president into making self-deprecating mistakes. I wondered if there was any point to listening to press conferences. If I was going to be constantly subjected to political bias, why bother? And after mulling it over for a while, I found the answer. I use press conferences as a learning tool. Learn to recognize the manipulative tools and techniques of the socialists. Listen to press conferences to hear the dynamic of the dialogue. What questions are being asked? And are they being asked in good faith? Is the questioner using the Socratic method, for instance? Is the person being questioned being asked to prove a negative? To presume a collective solution to a problem, to approach a problem by starting from scratch. Also, one of the other things that you have to learn about the press conferences, or what I need to know about press conferences, is are there talking points that are going to be coming down the pike, so to speak? The talking points start in Washington, D.C., or in a state capital, and they start with politicians and or news people, and the next thing you know, when you go to church or you go to work, some of your comrade co-workers will be hitting you with those very same talking points. So you can use it to get ahead of the curve, Anticipate the talking points that you're likely to encounter in your everyday life, and you can think up a solution to them. Next up, watch out for the word we. Thank you very much. Control of language is control of thought. Don't let radicals control the language. I'm reminded of this every day when I listen to the radio. I'm also used to hearing the left use the word we all the time. What do we do about this or that? We have to be more compassionate, etc. It was another phrase that on the surface seemed very natural. If we are talking about national policy, the word we is appropriate. But it still bothered me. After some weeks or months, I finally figured out what was bothering me about it. The statement not only makes the presumption for collective solutions, it also assumes that we should start from scratch. When talking about and analyzing the problem, it assumes that we haven't been doing anything. That gives me the clue to handle the question. If Comrade wants to know what we should do about homelessness, then we simply ask the question, what have we been doing about homelessness? We do this because it acknowledges the status quo, and true conservatives always make the presumption for the status quo. The other thing that we do is we challenge the word we. You can ask Mr. Lefty, who's we? Do you have a mouse in your pocket? Something of that nature. Back in a minute. Thank you. Who is the true conservative? He's the person that has the courage of his convictions and is confident in what he knows. He's the person that understands that cultural conservatism is more important than political conservatism. He's not selfish, but minds his own business. He acts like an adult. He's patriotic and uses common sense. He expresses what he knows and does so with certainty. He makes judgments, refuses to speculate, speaks clearly and definitively, and is not afraid to say no. He is open-minded, asking why rather than why not. He is consistent, credible, and influential, not ashamed of his existence, unafraid to learn or correct his mistakes. He is a normal American, and he's better than the socialist. He's a better friend, father, brother, family member, and a better person, period. You have to know that. If you don't know with every fiber of your being that being a true conservative is best, then you are wasting your time. And that brings me to the end of another episode of The Drill. Remember that the left has no authority, no power, and they can't win. Think about it.